Broadcasting live in downtown Oakland.
I'm David Hollander, and you're listening to Protect Your Assets. Over the last 20 years, I've met many people dissatisfied with the lack of value and personal attention their financial advisor provides them. At Liberty Group, we personalize every aspect of our clients' retirement and financial plan with estate law, wealth management, and tax planning all under one roof. Call today to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Tuesday night action here on RaceSpotTV. It's round number 4 of the Real Races Virtual Club presented by Liberty Group here at Oulton Park. And boy, oh boy, are we ever glad to be back for yet more of one of the most exciting club series you can possibly find out there on the iRacing servers. My name is Nolan Reppel. I've got Sumo Aurora beside me in the commentary box with Hugo Louise acting as technical director behind the cameras for tonight's presentation. So, Sumo, we come out of an absolute barnstorm of a race in upstate New York, one of the most thrilling races that both of us have seen in a very long time, and we swing on over to our first international race here at Oulton Park, and it is bound to be a fun race at a track that is a heck of a lot tighter than the one we've just left.
Oh, indeed, Nolan. This one will be a proper challenge for all the drivers, because if you can have a fun race here at Oulton Park, you can have it anywhere. Thing is, it's a fun circuit to drive on. It's very narrow, it's very tight, and the thing is, it's very, very fast. And so, it's a lot of fun to drive on, but going side by side right here takes a lot of commitment and takes a lot of experience, and experience is nothing of scarcity right here in the Real Racers Virtual Club. Of course, all real world racing drivers, which is why I expect this one, even though the circuit does not allow for much of it, I expect this one to be a thriller as well.
The key thing to note about with this track is, of course, the no chicanes. We'll get to that in just a minute. But first off, we look to the point standings. 4 points separate Andres Krone and Wade Michael. Krone was set to run away with the points lead coming into Watkins Glen, but after he ended up being crashed out by Robert McGinnis in his efforts to try to go for the race lead, Krone found himself all the way at the back of the pack, and now he has been able to shrink that gap in to just 4 points back to Wade Michael. Max Butler just 10 points behind your current points leader, and Jackson Ball hot on the heels of your number 3 position driver right now.
Indeed it is, but these points just don't represent what the races have been like. We often see someone like Robert McGinnis so close to the top, someone like Matthew Escajeda, right? He's slightly up the standings, but in the races, he's often been all the way back down. It's interesting what's going on right here, Nolan. It's all about what you can do to seize the opportunity on the day, and usually that goes to Anders Krone, but unfortunately that couldn't quite happen at the Watkins Glen last time out.
Who knows? Maybe Krone will find some luck later today. We talk about this being Oulton Park, but it's not the traditional layout we're used to seeing. You will just notice it there. Krone blowing past one of the 2 chicanes, because this is the layout that eliminates both backstretch chicanes, which means we are in for some serious draft battles all the way down that long straightaway over a hilltop and down to the fast right-hand corner of Knickerbrook. You watched all the Seagulls so close to the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the track and skirting 2 wheels onto the grass. And I can tell you right now, Nolan Seagull, he is looking to see if he can triumph earlier today after he got that win in the USF 2000 series at the New Jersey Motorsports Park a couple of weeks ago. Seagull, of course, having a fantastic run there, and he was a very happy camper, I think it is worth noting. I mean, Seagull is one of those rising talents in the Road to Indy series, and I feel like he could have some very big things coming up for him in just a little bit while here.
Exactly, and it's not just single-seaters in the USF 2000. Seagull also races in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge in the RA GT4. Now that's something, and you know what? He's still in high school. That's just something else, isn't it? When you see young drivers propelling all the way up, and one must say, Nolan, it actually helps out to have a sim in this situation, right? There's only so much real-world track time you can actually get, and there's a bit of a spin, but again, you can't make mistakes like that in the real world and just let go of it so easily. On the sim, you do that, you practice, you learn, and you get ahead. Ooh, what's that?
That might have been Robert McGinnis having some more struggles, but of course, good to get that all out of your system here in practice, so you're good to go for the race, which is not going to be the traditional 25-minute race that we're used to seeing. We were told earlier before this race, actually just before, that fuel limitations are a surprising thing to note about here. So it's not going to be the traditional 25-minute race with a rolling start. It'll be a standing start, but they're going to take a custom formation lap to shave a couple of minutes off of the race time before getting to the actual start of the race after a single custom formation lap. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We're currently riding on board with Rick Sheldon as he's ducking his way over the hilltop, and one of those sections you really have to watch out for. Now, of course, Rick Sheldon able to get some real-world experience in a Formula 4 machine at the Sonoma Raceway very recently, and we talked about that a little bit last week. We also talked about how there was a little bit of a video that had come on up since then, and, well, we have a little bit of a snippet that might be available in just a little while time that we'll be able to show you. In fact, here it is. This is coming around through the top of the hill and coming back down through the Esses as you ride on board with Rick Sheldon. It's what it's like in the real world around Sonoma.
Crazy. We saw this onboard clip, a similar one, last week, and it just baffles me as to how, firstly, realistic the sound of it is, but secondly, how much fun the Pro Mazda car is. We know on the iRacing service, sadly, of course, it's become Race's virtual club, that this car is just fun. And watching the onboards in the real world just confirms that, and I think something of this carry over from Rick Sheldon into the real world races that we've got right here, because the last time, Nolan, he showed great composure and great experience to climb all the way up from the back of the grid to finish up in P number 4. That was some smart recovery drive by Rick.
It certainly was, and I mean, he's certainly not having a bad result here. He's, of course, in the bottom half currently for those practice times, but he'll be no doubt looking to see if he can put himself up towards the sharp end of this thing. It is worth noting that despite being a little further back, he's still within a second of Anders Krohn. In fact, all the way back to about the 10th, 12th positions here are within a second of your current practice leader, Anders Krohn. Once again, showing just how unbelievably competitive this field is. You watch Rick Sheldon taking a little bit of a wider line up the hill before ducking through, I believe, what we just saw with the Druids corner up to the Lodge corner. One of the hardest braking zones on the track here for Lodge, and one of the few passing opportunities there is on the track as well.
Indeed it is, and Lodge corner is tricky. Now, there are two fast right-handers on the far end of the circuit. Firstly, there's Druids, turn number 15, and Druids is coming straight off a fast left-hand king called the Water Tower, so you've got to line up your braking very well. Thing is, Druids is wide open. Druids, you can actually send a move right there if you've got a good run from Water Tower. The thing with Lodge corner is that it genuinely is so tight. They look similar, they feel similar on the entry, but when you come to the mid part of that corner, Nolan, Lodge gets really tightened up. So you have to line up your move to perfection and get it done on the entry rather than leaving anything for the mid part of the corner. And this corner coming up right now, the Shell's Oil corner, this is also one where they can make it done using the camber. Feels smooth, feels like Zandvoort all of a sudden right here.
It's one of my favorite corners, honestly, on the circuit, the Shell Oils corner. It's so difficult, try to duck your way through that, but luckily we're able to do it. And you watch on board as Nicholas Leo showing how much of a draft he could get. Jackson Ball pulling aside, letting him through. Not necessarily wanted to fight that went through Knickerbrook, but going a bit too wide, and heads up for Leo back across to the right. He's having a bit of fun out there, isn't he? Trying to see what rallycross feels like in a Pro Mazda. Oh, there he goes.
Now that's not what it feels like usually, but goodness me, you see the commitment, right? At Knickerbrook corner, it used to be known as Racers corner back in the day as well, colloquially. Oh my word, and you see why it was called just that. What a ferocious one. And the fact that we don't have a chicane just makes it even crazier, to be honest.
Well, typically the corner speed through there is so low because there is a chicane right before it. Well, for exactly that reason, because it is such a fast take. That is not the case here today. We were talking about this before. That's one of those corners you never want to go side by side through. It is never going to end well, and it's a one-way ticket, shall we say, back to the garage in very short order. There's the Anders Krohn, trying to see if he can get a few more laps there. Currently the fastest driver we have seen thus far in the practice session with a 1:21.648, set on just the second of 13 laps that he has set so far in this practice session. So Anders Krohn looking to see if he'll be able to maybe improve that time a bit more, but still 3/10 up over Nolan Siegel, not bad at all.
Can we call Anders Krohn the Cheshire Cat here? The Cheshire Kitty or something quite like that this weekend? Again, got the Hello Kitty livery that has been pretty successful so far. And as far as I know, Cheshire Cats are very good at their reaction times and their responses and their reflexes, basically. And Krone, well, he's mighty quick, isn't he? So can we call him that?
One way to find out, I would suppose. Here's Zach Hudson, a returning face who has been putting on some pretty good performances in the last few weeks. I think it's worth noting. Currently sitting 4th place, half a second back behind Anders Krone. He'll be seeing if he can work himself up. Won't have enough time to finish this lap, but watch is going to throw through this left-hand kink and then hard on the brakes almost immediately for the Shell Oil's corner. They're able to carry so much speed through thanks to the banking on this corner. That's got to be, we're talking like 10, 11 degrees maybe on that banking there. It is an incredibly steeply banked corner, but it really adds the characteristics of Oulton Park quite nicely, I would say.
Yeah, genuinely, it's those cambered corners that make the circuit more fun. And remember, Oulton Park primarily can be a track day circuit where you come in, have some club races with your friends, and Hudson, see, that is how you nail Knickebrook Corner. And coming back to the point for Oulton Park, when you have corners with camber, it makes it more fun, makes it a good circuit where you want to pay your money to drive your car. And sometimes, yes, it actually takes away a couple of overtaking opportunities here and there. But if you're good enough, if you actually are going to make an overtake, you can't bother about the camera, right? You are going to send it in, you are going to get past. So that makes Oulton Park a uniquely fun circuit. And we come to qualifying, and those pole laps, Nolan, not pole laps, that one pole lap, that onboard will be fantastic to the 2nd and 3rd sector.
10 minutes, 4 laps this week. It was 3 laps last week, but it's 4 here coming into round number 4. Quite suitably, I would say. So, lone sessions now. They have reverted back from the open qualifying that they did throughout all of Season 2 and the first race of Season 3 as well. So, Hayden Fisher, he'll be the first driver out there to set a time, but no doubt he's going to have a couple of drivers looking to get through. In fact, on the track, I guess you could say, in their little Ghost 4s, Max Butler and Anders Krone have already passed them up. So Hayden Fisher taking a rather leisurely out lap, it's worth noting.
Yeah, indeed. Just trying to warm up the tires, and that will be important. Again, that's just like saying water is wet. But the thing is, at Oulton Park, it's pretty overcast today. Track temperatures must be pretty low, and in that case, there is grip if you can make your tires work out. With the Pro Mazda, I don't think it's very hard to warm your tires. Indeed, it isn't. So once you get in that right window, boom, 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 off you go. Hit your apexes, fire in that fun qualifying lap, and eventually you will end up with a smile, if not pole position. That's one thing.
Anders Krone just coming up over Deers Leap. He'll be the first driver to start his flying lap as he crosses over the line with Max Butler hot on his heels. Hayden Fisher, we ride on board with the number 4 driver who is going to be trying to see what can he do to try to get himself up there and maybe put himself up towards the top 5 of this thing. Now, he was sitting at the moment dead last out of the practice times that have been set. Whether he'll be able to stay there or if he'll be able to improve, you'll only wait and see.
Listening into the engine sound of this Pro Mazda car, and I love it. I love the fact that it seems to be energetic. There's always an urgency with the way this engine runs out, and it just makes you feel more pumped up. And watching it when somebody's going 3 wide with a couple of cars to your left and to your right, oh man, this just feels like quite the visual and plus quite the sound of it. And it's not the bassiest engine in the world. It may be not as the best sounding engine in the world as well, yeah, for sure. But the fact that it shows the urgency of the Pro Mazda car, that is something that makes it pretty special to listen to.
Coming up to Druid's Corner that almost shares the same name as Turn 2 up at Brands Hatch, and Hayden Fisher going to be see what he can make through Lodge Corner. The final corner and a hard braking zone as well, down to just the 3rd gear. Going to come up through Deers Leap and across the line. Anders Krone sets the fastest time so far, the 121.957. Hayden Fisher goes in with a 123.879, 1.8 seconds behind. On board with Rick Sheldon, who's looking to see what he can do as he's currently throwing his way up towards that final corner. Anders Krone the time to beat, and quarter second behind him is Nolan Siegel.
Rick Sheldon, of course, coming off a really good result in the last round. But Zach Hudson, well, unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be for him. Again, both the Super Mario Smash Bros got taken out in that last round right there. Again, a little bit of bad luck here and there, one might call it, when things got a bit too aggressive. But that happens in this championship. And normally, Nolan, we've seen an accident at turn number 1 every time. Not turn number 1, but in lap number 1 every time this weekend. If there's one corner where it seems the most possible, firstly, it has to be the Shelzone hairpin. That's the place where you can get taken out. But then, Knickerbrook. Imagine a crash right there. That's a one-shot ticket back to the pit lane. And that's it. That's off you go. Done for the day.
Started on board with Dave Anderson, seeing what he'll be able to make up for himself. He'll be able to put himself on the front row. The retired hedge fund manager trying to see if he can get himself onto the front row. Anderson's put in some pretty impressive performances in the past. Max Butler goes up to P2. Siegel immediately fights back. Less than a tenth of a second away from Anders Krone. Anderson crosses the line. It's a 122.9 and 3.6. That'll be enough for P8 for now. Matthew Escajeda, defending champion coming into today. We'll have to see what he can do at the moment. Escajeda has yet to set a lap. This is currently his out lap that he is still on. But look at the top end of the boards. Anders Krone has got some trouble behind with Nolan Siegel just half a tenth of a second off of his fastest time.
Indeed. So this is a good upturn in form from Nolan Siegel. Normally we end up seeing him around the mid-pack, but here, this is quite something. Perhaps translating that real-world experience that he's recently got with the USF 2000 cars right here with the Pro Mazdas. But if there's one result that shocks me to the core, why is McGuinness still in P number 10? Has he not set out a representative lap time yet? I suppose that has to be the case because Robert McGuinness, 1.5 seconds down, that doesn't normally happen ever.
Currently on his third lap. We'll see what McGuinness can make. You saw Nicholas Leo cut Knickerberg a little bit tight. That caused him to run wide. I wonder if that is enough for the off-track incident point that would nullify his qualifying lap. The good news for him, he's only on his first out of the 4 that he gets, so he's got enough time to potentially claw his way back and see if he can get another time in there. Leo crosses the line at 123.734. It is going to be enough. That's going to be 11th place. You can see the times continuing to drop on the left side of the screen. Fisher goes quicker. So does McGuinness, putting himself up into the 8th position for Robert McGuinness. That's great news for himself. 1.2 seconds now behind Anders Krone. With Zach Hudson, now one of the only drivers along with Escajeda who still has yet to set a qualifying time. And
that won't help Zach Hudson because, of course, once you go out there, once you put a wheel, not one wheel, but maybe a couple of wheels outside on the white line, the iRacing service will give you 1x, and that means your lap does not count anymore. At Oulton Park, qualifying is just like walking a tightrope at 200 kph, isn't it? I mean, it's like if you slip up slightly, the ball will be robbed away with you so quickly, and there's no way you're getting it back. Because under the grass, it's not grass, basically it's green ice. And you know you can't walk on ice, even with, these cars are like flip-flops. You can't walk on ice with flip-flops, right? You need your ski boots, and unfortunately, these ones just aren't made for that.
Escajeda also went off at this lap near the oil shells corner, so he is not going to be able to get a lap in himself. So both himself and Zach Hudson looking to try to see if they can get themselves a tie. Now Hudson's on his third lap now. Escajeda's just rounded onto his second. I don't think Escajeda's going to have the time to use all 4 laps. It's going to be a question if Zach Hudson will be able to. There you see the number 10 car slowing to a stop. That's Nolan Siegel, just completed his final qualifying effort. Good enough for P2 for now, but I have to see if he'll be able to be pipped down or if he'll be staying on the front row. Here comes Wayne Michael coming to a close on his final qualifying lap. Fastest time was the last time by with 122.507. Can he go even quicker this time in the number 2 machine? Going to come up through Deers Leap and across the line. It's not going to count. Had it off track somewhere on course. So Wayne Michael going to be staying P6 for the time being.
Who would have thought that just completing one qualifying lap would be such a tricky ordeal right here in the Real Racers Virtual Club? But it's Oulton Park, the limits are always close by, and that is why we're seeing so many drivers who we normally see up above not really getting in some good lap times. McGuinness again, Nolan. I don't think he's had many off tracks, but in this last lap, he improved by a couple of tenths of a second. Now, that is good. I mean, of course, you'll be happy by that, but would someone like McGuinness be very happy with that? He's just 1.2 seconds down on Anders Krone, and these two are drivers who have normally battled each other all the time this year, so that is a bit of a head scratcher, if you might call it that way.
Escajeda's coming on up across the line, had a bit of a scare through the Druids corner. Does he log a time though? He does not. Escajeda on his last chance trying to set a time as we watch Nicholas Leo go up to P7, bumping down all the drivers behind him. Robert McGinnis, not going to log a lap either, so he is going to be stuck down to the tail end. Zach Hudson also had an off track on his latest lap. He's now on his final qualifying lap and coming around through Druid's corner, headed up towards Lodge, but he's swinging a bit too wide through Druid, so I don't know if Zach Hudson will be able to put down a respectable time. He's just trying to get down the time at all at the moment.
Indeed, and that is turning out to be a major challenge for Hudson. And now, oh man, this is just not how things work out, right? This is the worst way to begin your entire weekend. Not even setting a lap and qualifying, not because you didn't go out there, but you tried and you got an off course every single lap. This is not a good indication for the race, Nolan. Things could just pile up, could compound up, and eventually you could see that race be ruined by these little 1Xs here and there. So keep a keen eye on that. But Matthew Escajeda, this very driver proved the last time out that it doesn't matter if you start dead last, so long as you just keep your calm and do the right thing. Because Escajeda last time out started last, finished 5th. Not a bad result in the end.
Escajeda crosses the line, finally logs a time, but it's only good enough for 12th place, and that is a time that's almost 2 seconds worse than the next closest driver, Dave Anderson. So Escajeda has got a lot of work ahead of him. But qualifying is complete. Checkered flag flies. Take a look now at the post-qualifying results with Anders Krone on the front row. Nolan Siegel starts beside him in second place on the front row, with Max Butler down in third. Rick Sheldon rounds it out in fourth. Jackson Ball and Wade Michael rounding out the top half of the field here, Sumil.
Then it is Nicholas Leo and Hayden Fisher, joined by Robert McGinnis. A bit of a surprise one to see him in P9, followed by Kurt Panzagro in P number 10. Dave Anderson had a bit of a messy race the last time out, but he starts in P number 11, with the defending champion Matthew Escajeda down in P number 12.
That's going to round out Zach Hudson for the 13th car field, the only driver to not set a time. Now, it's important to note here that while it's set for a standing start because of the worries about fuel limitations, this standing start does not actually start the race officially for these drivers. They have all made the agreement that they're going to take a one-lap formation lap for doing the traditional rolling start that this series is so accustomed to. That is just so they can try to conserve fuel here to see if they can maybe get themselves around and save enough that they'll be able to make it to the end. Otherwise, you'd have your leaders running out of fuel on the last laps of these races.
And I want to see how this actually works out. Remember, this is a racing club. All these drivers have genuinely raced each other for years now on the sim, and they know exactly what they're doing. There's this trust, there's this bond, and of course, everyone is chatting with each other live as it happens on Discord. So things should be okay on the communication side. But still, Nolan, whenever I've tried something quite like this with a few friends of mine, it's never really worked out. Someone or the other just jumps in a little bit early, even though the leader is the one supposed to do that. It can be a bit of a mix-up, to be honest, even if you're speaking to each other. So I'm really keen to see if they're able to make this work completely fine in the next lap.
Well, since we have ourselves a little bit of time while they do that one formation lap, may as well give a shout out to some of the guys that helped to keep the lights on here at the Real Races Virtual Club. And of course, this series, season number 3, being presented by Liberty Group, and they're a company that believes that you should be able to live the retirement that you've always wanted. Their team of professionals can help you to create a well thought out strategy using a variety of investments and insurance products and services to help you address your financial needs and concerns. As well as this, the Stephen Wilson Racing Academy. Of course, Stephen Wilson racing with us just last week at Watkins Glen, not present today. Now, he does own the Stephen Wilson Racing Academy, and SWAR exists to assist clients on their motorsport journey. They utilize 20 plus years in the sport with advanced coaching techniques, track and car knowledge, and widespread international industry connections to help clients progress to any level imaginable. Whether the client is new to drive it on track or an experienced amateur racer, they can help you to develop driving skills that will enable you to climb through the Ferrari Challenge ranks, win races in Ferrari Challenge, advance to competing in Pro-Am racing, and one day possibly iconic races such as the Daytona 24 or the Le Mans 24 Hours. As well as Merit Partners, they're a high-end boutique car dealership specializing in Porsche and Ferrari. With an extensive network of private clients, Merit curates rare and exotic cars for the purpose of buying, selling, and creating investment portfolios. The focus of Merit is to build long-term relationships over time, choosing to have a narrower focus and going deeper with clients. Additionally, Merit offers a wide range of peripheral services for clients, including car storage, detailing, specialty parts, and paint protection film. That's a shout out to some of the guys that helped keep the lights on here at the Real Races Virtual Club. A bit of an interesting scenario has since developed since I've been reading those out here in Sumil. Nicholas Leo did not take to the starting grid. However, as they're on that formation lap, he has since driven up through the field and retaken his original position. That's an interesting one for me.
Yeah, exactly. In an official series, I doubt this would work out, but this is a club, everyone knows each other, things like that happen, so it'll be okay. And I love this. It's serious, right? It totally is serious. When the green flag drops, nobody's out there thinking, yeah, he's a friend of mine, I'll let him go easier. No, nothing like that ever happens. They're super, super serious about it, but in things like this, they're friendly, they're open, they have a nice chat, they let things like that happen because they know it's slight technical difficulty. We don't want it to ruin a race like this one. So that's the fun part of having a racing club like this one. But having a racing club also means drivers you know how to race against, drivers who you know will not relent on a certain corner, or some that might be a little bit docile, drivers who you know how to race against. And that often means, Nolan, some really good, hard and smart racing, which is what we could be up to see right here at Oulton Park over the course of the next 25 minutes.
Slightly under 25 minutes of racing left to go. It's going to be about 22 and they take the line. Crone slowing the field up to just 35 miles an hour. Up through Deer's Leap. We're just waiting on that 47 machine. Now gets on the pedal. We are racing. Robert McGinnis jumps the start and makes that pass on Nicholas Lee with the sprint down towards turn number 1. Thought the field had already went. He was wrong, and now trying to push one around the outside line away. Michael, but gets checked up by Jackson Ball. So Robert McGinnis on the charge early on and going to force the issue here down to the turn number 3 with Jackson Ball. How to fight back around the inside line with McGinnis backing off to avoid running off course.
What a daredevil. Tried to go on the outside line, but realized very quickly that I could be running off on the grass. And when you run off on the grass, it's like walking on ice with flip-flops. Never really works out. McGinnis under pressure right now for his position. And you're right, he did slightly jump that start, but I'm still astounded to see how cleanly it's all worked out for everyone.
Up in front, Anders Crone under 5 from Nolan Siegel coming down the hill and trying to make that pass into Nicker Brook, and there's going to be, looks like Anders Crone to cut back across and keep Siegel at bay. One car off on the grass in the background. That's Rick Sheldon dropping down the order. Another driver into the tire barriers just behind. Kurt Panziger with a huge crash down, and that's going to force Panziger, no doubt, out of the race. I believe went up and over into the tire barriers, but it's still a battle that's hot on the heels of the race there with Nolan Siegel trying to maybe fight to the inside of the launch corner.
Siegel's gonna try, but where is the question? You can't do it right here at turn number 1. It's too tricky a corner to make something work out, which means the old hairpin on the side of the track, Nolan, that is going to be that one place, and that could also mean that place was working out for someone like McGinnis, who's chasing Michael so hard right now. Wade Michael was such a star performer back in Watkins Glen. He will be a hard nut to crack right now.
Robert McGinnis kind of losing a little bit of time. We look on board the back of Jackson Ball, who has got Wade Michael just behind him, trying to see if he can maybe close in the gap. And Rick Sheldon, you can see hungry for positions just in behind as well. Michael too close! And turns Jackson Ball coming into the oil shells corner. Ball's going to tumble all the way down to the rear end. Now, I don't see a lot of damage on the back of the number 5 car, but that is one of the classic cases that happens at this corner here, Silvo. You just get too fast on entry and run over the car in front of you.
Indeed, let's take a look at the quick replay, and that is just happens. That's racing. Stuff like that happens. It's so easy to make an error where you just overshoot your braking marker and end up taking somebody else out. But the problem is just that. You've taken somebody out. It's not you who's paying the price for it, but it is Jackson Ball, and that is the aspect that stings hard.
Under 20 minutes left to go. You can see Robert McGinnis looking for position. Just behind them, Leo dives down the inside of Rick Sheldon. Sheldon backs out of the lodge to allow that machine of Nicholas Leo to make up another position. So Leo now back up to P7 where he started. It'll be a tough run for him to see if he can be able to close up the distance. And a lot of drivers still looking feisty. Robert McGinnis all over the gearbox of Wade Michael coming down to turn 3.
sends one down the inside line. This is going to be interesting. They all converge all the lines, but McGuinness backs out and he stays behind. There's a real opportunity coming, Nolan. There's a real chance coming in, and the old Shellzone corner. Inside or outside? What is the line of choice? Behind. That's odd.
Leo going to be trying to see if he'll be able to scrap his way back up there. Wade Michael currently headed up the second train to that fourth position and starting that IndyCar stake already up through Hilltop again. It's getting a little squirrely, but he's got all the run he needs. Down to Knickerbrook, looks over to the right side. Does he force the issue? Decides to back out of it. That is a very wise maneuver, in my opinion. No way he was going to be able to make that one work. So McGuinness, what can he do up the hill, potentially through Druids? Won't be able to make the pass here, but if he can get a good run, maybe out towards Lodge. So close to the back end. And if this draft can work out for him, could potentially make that look. But here comes Leo, who's got a word to say about it. He's going to try to go down the inside of McGuinness into Lodge.
That's the thing in the Real Racers Virtual Club. If you don't make a move, you're going to be the one when somebody makes a move on you. That's the tricky part. You can never breathe quietly, in calmness, because everyone is going to be around you. And I'll tell you what, Siegler and Butler seemingly are having a bit of a scrap right now. Or is it just technical issues or something that's going on there?
It does appear to be more technical related rather than actually on-track battle related. So Siegel having some slight difficulties. Here's what happened to Kurt Payne-Zager. This is on the opening lap of the race, all by himself. Coming around through Knickerbrook, goes too wide off and into the sand, and didn't quite roll over, but it was a huge hit to the barriers, and that has forced Payne-Zager down a lap, and he is going to be able to still get some points, but it's not going to be nearly as much as he would have liked.
That corner is explosive if you don't get it correctly. And the thing is, the right line matters there so much. If you take that line slightly off what it should be, you could be on the way out. And McGuinness is one driver who's pushing that line to the absolute limit. You see him get on the grass screen just minorly over there. He's tiptoeing around so much, and you can see it. McGuinness wants more, but is that just not enough pace from his car?
You see Leo trying to force the issue around the outside line, but McGuinness holds on, and Leo too eager on the throttle, and he is going to jump himself a little bit further back and lose out some significant time. Got the throttle a bit too early there, coming around through the exit of Lodge. It ended up shooting himself out onto the grass, and McGuinness going really wide through turn one as well. Now, of course, there is some special turf, you could say, that's on the outside. They're not quite AstroTurf, and I'm frankly not quite sure what the name is, but you are able to run wide on there with very little consequences. And good thing for McGuinness, because if that was any other normal grass section off the track, you absolutely would be facing backwards right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit of grasscrete is what I think you call it normally. And you can run wide, only to an extent though. Of course, when you drive over there on the sim, it doesn't feel like something really special. Feels like normal concrete, but it's so easy to overshoot it. You think that, okay, if this place is a little bit helpful, let me go wide all the time here. And you take that for granted, and you should never ever take the grass straight for granted, because then you can run wide slightly off guard, and that's it. You put half a wheel on the grass, boom, there you are, taking a bit of a trip into the grass and becoming a bit of a lawnmower, let's say.
Battles on for the lead. Siegel looks to the left side, coming down to the Lodge. Crone trying to fight back around the inside line. That's allowing Max Butler to start to close up the gap. He's got a perfect front row seat of this, but he's got to be careful he doesn't run too wide himself. On the goes on Crone. Siegel going to go down to the pit wall to try to get back and chases him over to the left side. Nolan Siegel goes up to the point. What a run there. Manages to get that pass done and what has got to be one of the moves of the race. But Crone, no doubt, is going to be eager to try to fight back.
Here we go. Krone's getting a little bit loose here and there, and you can see that Krone will not stick back for long right here. The intensity in the way he's just driving this car and sending it into each corner. He's up here to make a move, but not at Shells all this time. No, he will wait, and he will do it at Knickerbrook, Nolan. Can you imagine a move at Knickerbrook? No, he doesn't need to.
Oh, Nolan's going even further off the track into one of the chicanes. Watch out for the tire bundles. Comes back on. That's going to drop Siegel down to third and heads up for Wayne, Michael, McGuinness, Leo, and more coming up behind. Nolan Siegel's looking to be dropped out of the top five, and he is dropped out of the top five. So Nolan Siegel not having an easy time, and that's dropped him right over into this battle for P number 4. Now McGuinness running a bit wide through Knickerbrook. From one battle to another, so to speak, and Nolan Siegel, he's already reset, and he's trying to regain lost time.
Next time a commentator speaks about a circuit being really on the edge, don't just say cliche, yeah, it doesn't ever happen. It does happen. Just ask Nolan Siegel about it. One small error, he's off. One good move, he's back up to P4 though.
See, I'm surprised he's still got so much speed underneath. He does have some left front wing damage. You can see that over there from this head-on shot. That left side of the front wing is a little bit bent down, and holy cow, McGuinness giving Siegel a little bit of a scare, getting all up close and personal with the number 10 machine, trying to find a way through. And it's worth noting that McGuinness is trying to fend off Nicholas Leo just behind him as well. And all of this is allowing for Wade Michael to start to build a slow gap over this second train.
Indeed it is. It's all building up right now. And Wade Michael, he's proven to be very good in these situations where you have to keep your cool. And the last round at Watkins Glen, he was just somehow a surprise leader after he just scraped through the entire field in that big accident. And he kept it for quite a while. He was calm there. He knew exactly what to do. And that is what he needs to channel out again today, because behind, I would say, is an even bigger lineup of sorts.
Staying single file for the time being. We passed the halfway point in this race, and these battles still raging strong, just where you've seen week in, week out. This series does not quite know what a dull race is, and I'm glad they don't, because this has been some of the best racing yet. Nick Siegel pops at the worst time, and Robert McGuinness having to back out as a result, and now under fire from Nicholas Leo, who's going to try to get a run into turn one.
That was absurd, right? Technical issues happening for Nolan Siegel. He's blinking on the circuit, internet problems, which makes you a bit of an unstable driver to race against, because again, the other drivers don't know where you are, and normally they end up taking things a little more cautious. And that could be the case right now. Siegel is blinking, but in the background as well, Leo wants to attack McGuinness. Leo is closer than ever. We could just see two moves into one right now. At
Oh, so deep.
Imagine.
Oh, one car off up front. That's Wade Michael comes back on course, and that's going to give up a spot up to Nolan Siegel. That leaves this now a battle for P5 at the beginning, trying to fight back. Nicholas Leo looking to get a run, but looks like Nicholas Leo is going to opt to stay in behind in the run down towards Knickerbrook. Does not go for the move now. I do want to say it will look like Wade Michael just pushed too wide out of the corner all by himself, and that's what sent him wide. Take a look aboard. That tells the story right there.
Yeah, much like Nolan Siegel a lap before. They're not trying to copy each other, don't get me wrong. They just end up making these errors. It's so easy to do. You and I would do the same thing because this circuit invites speed, especially at the exit of the Shell's Oil corner. So you want to go fast. You take a faster line through there, and suddenly you end up just working into the hands of the groundsman at Oulton Park, of course, who hasn't quite trimmed the lawn for months because they knew that we were coming here.
You just saw Zach Hudson getting a bit sideways, trying to get a run past Rick Sheldon. And Sheldon himself has lost a spot up to Hayden Fisher on just this last lap. And Sheldon himself has a bit of front left wing damage that he's got to be a bit careful of. That's no doubt hampering him in these corners, and it's what's allowing Hudson to close on in. Look out for Hayden Fisher, way off course, and going to be trying to come back on. All the while, Hudson tries to go into the kink, and you see Hayden Fisher coming on clear of traffic in the background, while Rick Sheldon trying to fend off Zach Hudson just behind him, but has so far been successful.
Nice and smooth. Not like McGuinness, though. Third car in a row to be off at that very place on the exit of the Shell's Oil corner. I think we know what's happened right here, Nolan. It has to be that wider line, and you go off there and you become a lawnmower, and McGuinness has become the third car to do that.
There you saw it, ran too wide. This time backed it hard into the wall. It just tore up the rear wing on his machine. Tell you what, Robert McGuinness has had an absolutely abysmal season so far. Not the way he's wanted it to go. Hopefully he'll be able to bounce back later on, but I think he's effectively out of a title hunt at this point in time. Meanwhile, Zach Hudson still working on Rick Sheldon. Will he look to the inside and commit? He's going to commit and almost sends Rick Sheldon around.
Almost. That was nice and sweet. Again, when you go to Lodge Corner, it tightens up in the middle, and that was exactly what we saw. Those lines converging and the racing becoming all too intense. Again, watch out for this island bend coming up right now. It's going to be a fast left-hand king where they are potentially going to go side by side right about now. No, they are not. Thank goodness for that.
Hudson's looking, though. He's letting Rick Sheldon know he is there and he's ready to tango and going to look for the inside into the oil shell's hairpin. Locks it up on the right front, but gets the pass done and does it cleanly. Rick Sheldon bumped back to P7. Count Zach Hudson up to 6th.
Easy. Easy. That is how you make a move work out at Oulton Park. Are they going to fight back again in Knickerbrook, though? I wouldn't dare. And Rick Sheldon doesn't dare as well. He knows what is smarter. It's better to finish the race than to end up finishing upside down trying to go for a move for some place like P number 6. It's a long game. It still might just be only 8.5 minutes, but he still can salvage quite a fair bit from that one. What do you reckon, Nolan? P4, P5? I think it's possible for Hudson, perhaps.
It'll depend on if the top 4 drivers end up finding themselves out of this race. They're a good 7 seconds up the road yet, but with how these drivers are seeming to drop like flies at some point, it's certainly a possibility. Notice Hayden Fisher dropped down the timing order. Well, he is now officially out of the race and has left the session. He had it coming together, I believe, might have been with Robert McGinnis on around the same point where Hayden Fisher disappeared. And it's unfortunate for him, but McGinnis still out on course, and this battle continuing to rage on with so far Zach Hudson leading up. Then comes Sheldon, then Anderson, Escajeda, and Jackson Ball for the 5-car train, battling for 6th on back to the 10th position.
And the top, though, Anders Krohn controlling. Watch this again. Wade Michael. I think I've done the commentator's curse. I said that he was so calm and so composed at holding on to good positions, but he's made an error. Was that a slowdown? Or was it just him getting on the grass? Nah, making a mistake, locking up and going into the wall. Simple error where you just miss your braking point, but as I said, Oulton Park invites speed, invites you to go that little bit deeper on the brakes. That didn't work out clearly.
Escajeda's off-track excursion also didn't work out. You saw Jackson Ball completing that pass on Escajeda, but Oil Shell's Corner claiming yet another victim over the course of the night, and I have a strong feeling it could be the last one. Remember, I was talking about how if these guys want to get their way up to fight for P4, they're going to need these guys to drop out. Well, that was P5. P4 is Nicholas Leo now. The possibility is still very, very real, at least for those top couple of drivers. Zach Hudson pulling a big gap on Sheldon through turn number 1 and trying to see if we can reel him in. Oh, big tank slapper, though, for the number 1 car. Holds on, but look at how much Sheldon closes as a result.
Okay, this is the battle coming up once again. Round 2 between Hudson and Sheldon. Inside line at the kink. That is gutsy. I'll tell you that one. That is gutsy. If you can try that move at the kink, you can surely go side by side at Knickerbrook, Rick Sheldon. Go for it. We want to see that sight.
6 minutes remaining up hilltop and coming down towards Knickerbrook. Does Sheldon go for it? He decides against it. Let off the gas and tucked back in line. Dave Anderson also not brave enough just behind, but if Zach Hudson makes another mistake like that, Sheldon could be all over him up the hill underneath the spectator bridge in the sprint up towards Druid's Corner. Sheldon going to get one good apex, but it is Zach Hudson to get a better second apex. Sheldon will not be close enough to challenge into Lodge.
And you don't want to challenge into Lodge. It's a corner that's traditionally going away from you, much like Sheldon has lost his car. It just went away from him at that corner. Normally, I don't associate Pro Mazdas with being cars that are very loose on the mid part of the corner, but there we are then. What's happening here, Nolan?
Well, they got some pretty nasty turn-in oversteer, and that's what Rick Sheldon just experienced. Just on the brakes, back end comes away from you, and that happened right where the track comes back up to meet you, and unfortunately, that season dropped to the tail end of this grouping. Zach Hudson has got a small gap now over Dave Anderson, but I have a feeling that that gap still has the potential to close on in a hurry with Jackson Ball trying to challenge as well. We ride on board at the moment with Jackson Ball, working that wheel a little bit more out of the oil shell's corner. We've got ourselves under 5 minutes to go. For the race leaders, that's about another 3 laps, it's estimated.
3 more laps of racing quite like this? Sign me up. Give me 4, give me 10, give me 20. I want this to go on for even longer, much like Ball, who has an opportunity on the outside line. This is going to be a very tricky chance, Nolan, but he does it before the braking zone, which is the best part. Jackson Ball on the rise.
Got a much better run through Knickerbrook and is able to pull a small gap through Druids. Apex is good at launch and is on point, exiting the corner, trying to run down Zach Hudson, who is currently still fighting for 5th place. The battle for the final position inside the top 5. He's certainly not done yet with under 3 laps to go.
Watch it and wait for it. Just control all this pressure. After everything that's happened, Hudson finally finds himself in the lead of this pack, away from someone like Rick Sheldon, who could just be that one thorn in his side. Now, only 3.5 minutes to go. Is there ever a chance for him to go up to P4? Seems unlikely, the gap is a bit too much. But there could be someone challenging him from the back, and that could be Jackson Ball, and that is not a nice name to have right behind you. Ball is aggressive.
Robert McGinnis coming down pit road, taking the one quick pair these drivers have access to. Right on board with Matthew Escajeda, who's got Dave Anderson in his sight. Force back off for Knickerbrook, but too wide of the exit, loses some significant ground up there to the number 62 machine. They'll have to see if he can get a better drive out through Druids and the run down towards Lodge. He's going to have a shot at going back for that position. How about Anders Krone and Max Butler? The battle for the race lead started to pick up as well, and something must have happened to Krone, I'm thinking here, because just a lap ago, that gap was 0.7 of a second away, and now it's down to just 0.2 through turn 1.
Must have made an error or something quite like that, but even if you make an error, how calm are you? There are normally 2 types of drivers after they make an error from the lead. Some can just disintegrate and let the other person go past, but the others hold up their part of the agreement. They end up just getting back their focus very quickly. And look at this side, right? Krone and Butler lapping McGuinness. And these are 3 drivers who we've seen fighting for the win in this series so far. That is just symbolic of what's happening to McGuinness right now, but still getting feisty, getting a bit crazy right now then.
Looking how tight they are through Knickerbrook, and is Krone a little bit wider, loses speed over the curbs as Max Butler brave enough to throw it down the inside of Druids. I would hope not with how far back he still is, but potentially for launch, gets a bad corner entry though, and that gives all the advantage he needs to Anders Krone. 1:45 to go. Can they potentially make it back to the line? I think they'll be able to have enough that it'll be a 2-lap run to the finish and not a 1-lap finish like it was originally anticipated.
Nice. This just opens up the doors even more. And it may seem like Butler's fallen back a bit too much right now, but that's not the case. That gap can go down in one single corner. That is going to be a critical point to watch out. As you can see in the background, McGuinness not in the fight, he is lapped. So it's just a straight fight between Krone and Butler. And that is something I am very keen on watching. Only a couple of more laps to go. Only a couple of more opportunities to go for Butler if he wants to get in the lead. He has to time this smartly, but up against Krone, that is a feisty little kitty right there to defend against.
1 minute remaining up through Hilltop. The question is, do they make it back to the line in time? Max Butler is hoping they make it back and go for one more. Gives him the time he's going to need to reel in Anders Krone. Unless Krone makes a mistake, Max Butler's not going to be close enough to reel him in before they get down to Lodge Corner. So he is certainly hoping for one. There goes McGuinness off track again and back hard to the inside wall. It's a big flip in the background for Robert McGuinness flying through the air. Gonna keep with this lead pack though, and Nola Siegel collected big time with Robert McGuinness as well. So your 3rd place driver having some struggles, but looks like not too much damage for the number 10 car. We're gonna keep with this lead battle. 20 seconds on the clock. They are gonna make it back. White flag this time by.
1 more lap to go. How does this one end? Does it end up with Butler being the winner? Does it end up with the Hello Kitty car of Anders Krone getting a 3rd win of the year? It's all possible. The gap is still under that 1 second mark. There are still a couple of chances, but it's fading away quickly, Norton. If something has to happen, Butler must make it work fast.
Anders Krone trying to keep Max Butler at bay. What can he do? Up through the oil shells hairpin for the final time today. The 47 car has been dominating so far throughout this race, but Max Butler wants to put that domination to an end. You only have to lead 1 lap, and that is the last one. And this is going to be one of Max Butler's best chances to potentially get a run up towards Knickerbrook.
Again, there's a try, there's a look, but look at the blocking, look at the weaving. It might be naughty driving, but Krohn is doing what he needs to do. And the opportunities are drying up right now. The clouds, well, they're getting heavier, but the chances are now just soaking up right now for Butler. He has to do it in the next corner. The final one looks unlikely, though.
Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough. It's going to be Anders Krohn coming through the final corner. There's the battle for fifth. Oh, big contact, and Hudson's off the track, but on the left side, Anders Krohn comes across the line to win round number 4, but it's all falling apart for Zach Hudson behind, who was dropped out of the top 5 after contact with Dave Anderson through Knickerbrook. That battle's not over yet. Here comes Jackson Ball trying to see if he can pick up a run.
Oh my god, this is going to be crazy again right now. Are we going to see a last lap send Sheldon down the inside of Escajeda? Much like Watkins Glen, he just has his number. Across the line though, Anderson in 5th. Ball ends up in 6th. Escajeda, no. What's going on? Escajeda got it back? How?
Got that crossover out of Lodge corner. Sheldon pushed it too hard on the exit. Just clipped the curb, and that's all that Escajeda needed. See you later. That's going to put Escajeda back up to 7th place. What a race, though, throughout the field. And I'm surprised, honestly, that Nolan Siegel finished in 3rd place. Shout out to the number 10 car. This man, actually, I kid you not, he slammed the flipping Robert McGinnis square and sent McGinnis 15 feet into the air. So how Siegel finished 3rd is beyond me, but what an incredible race. Here's the last lap send for Sheldon. There's the 6th Escajeda with the crossover.
Oh, that was sweet. That is textbook. Escajeda just keeping his calm and showing why he was the defending champion. Rather, why he is the defending champion, mind you. But, oh man, I'm just a little bit confused. Hudson, it could have been so much more. He'll be happy at the end. He would have enjoyed this race, but B9, that's not what he should be ideally.
Anders Krohn, your race winner then, after a total of 17 laps, not counting that first one because, of course, that was a formation lap. Max Butler 6/10 back behind him with Nolan Siegel in 3rd around of the podium. Nicholas Leo in 4th. Dave Anderson just beating out Jackson Ball in the battle for P number 5 with the rest of the field close in behind, Sumil.
Yeah, indeed. It really was close for the rest of the field, wasn't it? We saw the likes of Ball, Escajeda, Sheldon all involved in that battle. Hudson, as we mentioned, could have been more, with Wade Michael was having a bit of an off day, let's put it that way. Started off well, didn't quite end up going so well at the end, but that's just normally the story. Somewhat happens, right? In a race like this one, things do spill over at times, and we saw that happening at one specific corner, the exit of Shell's oil corner. So many drivers got caught out over there. And it's a quick reminder, Oulton Park is a fierce circuit. It might be narrow. Firstly, you can't have good racing right there, shown by everybody. But if you get it slightly wrong, it really will bite you back. And this might be the trend, Nolan, because even after this one, we see all these drivers like Pansegro, like McGuinness, like Fisher, all having to carry this flip side of the wrong momentum to Phillip Island, a circuit where you need momentum. And that is going to be a bit of a challenge mentally.
Certainly will, and it'll be a track that is also a lot more draft heavy, unlike what we saw, just a little while ago here at Oulton Park. So, well, with the results complete and everything official, we'll start to see if we can give a chat here to some of the other guys, and we'll see if we can maybe give a chat here with your top 3. We're going to start it off with, of course, I believe it's Anders Krohn joining us up in the broadcast booth. Anders leading every single lap and winning the race. Perfect performance from you after a disappointment one at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, it was. I was really bummed at Watkins Glen, and it felt good to come back. But man, I tell you, it was a hard battle initially with Nolan there. Then he took the lead briefly, and then I think he dropped the wheel or something like that. But he was super rapid, and then in the closing stages, Max Butler was on fire. So again with the draft in these cars on these tracks here, it's just so difficult to put it together. But really enjoyable race nonetheless.
Phillip Island is a track that obviously utilizes a lot of draft. You're just mentioning how important that is. We saw the effects of that at Watkins Glen. How do you reckon Phillip Island's going to play out?
I don't know, to be honest, and unfortunately, I'm going to be missing that race. So I'll be tuning into the broadcast, but I'm out traveling then. So hopefully it'll be another barn burner, and I can't wait to tune in.
Well, the good news for you, Anders, is, of course, you do have those 2 drop weeks, which will play in heavily for the championship. Is the goal for you to still maybe go for a title?
I don't know. I mean, I guess if I can keep the streak going and keep some good wins coming, then sure, why not? But yeah, I'm not entirely sure I'll be able to make the rest of the races, after Phillip Island. But I'm hoping so. And if that resulted in a championship, that'd be all the better. But really, I'm just here to, because the racing's so awesome. It's a lot of fun, and Rick and Dave put on such a great series here, and the way you guys broadcast it is just awesome. So,
well, I would like to thank you for the kind words, Anders, and I'd also like to wish that you have a good time over on your vacations next week. Thank you for coming on over, giving us a chat here. Congratulations on a hard-earned victory here today at Oulton Park, and best of luck in your future endeavors.
Appreciate it, but if you want to give me a win at Phillip Island as well, that's absolutely fine, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Anders Krone, your race winner at the end of the night. We're going to continue on down through the order, and we're going to give a chat here with Max Butler. Join us with the broadcast booth. And Sumo, I'll pass this one down to you.
Max, what a crazy race this was. Eventually, we saw you getting one chance. It's all isn't it, at the end? Just slipped away from you, but still quite a fun one, I suppose, for you.
Oh yeah, it was super fun. I was basically holding on to a rope the entire race off the draft of Anders, and because I was just not letting him get more than a second ahead of me, just so I can have at least a little bit of a chance. But got really close at one point, and after that, I was like, I don't know if that's going to happen again. So try my best. Happy with second.
So all things considered. But let's just talk about this circuit. This you mentioned, right, just sticking on the rope. Was it quite like that, just driving around here as well? Because we saw so many drivers in the background making a couple of mistakes here and there that you avoided so well.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to qualify pretty high up there, and I noticed right off the start there was a few mistakes right behind me, which meant Anders, Nolan, and myself could kind of just sail off into the distance. I think we pulled like a 4-second gap. And then I think Nolan went outside of the hairpin, and at that point it was just Anders and I just running clean laps. And we practice a fair bit with each other, so we kind of know how we race. So it was just hit your marks and make sure you're running clean and try to have a shot at the end. You're not really breaking the draft here, so I knew if I was going to make a move for the win, it had to be in the last few laps. But Anders is just a lightning bolt in general, so I knew it had to be like really close to the end.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, not quite working out in this favor this time. But Max, a good upturn in form. Next time out, it's Phillip Island, a similar circuit. Do you think that'll benefit you in a way?
Yeah, I really like Phillip Island. We raced there last year in the F3 cars, and that was actually the first race for a lot of us in this league. So I'm really excited to do it do this car at this track as well. Obviously, the draft is just so much more, and with that one having a long straight, I think it's going to close the gap and have some really close racing.
If everyone can stay alive, that is.
Being alive is a big part of racing. You are definitely correct.
Well, it could all get really tricky at Phillip Island. But Max, thank you for taking out the time to speak with us, mate. Thank you so much, and all the best for Phillip Island. Congratulations on this one.
Thank you so much. See you guys.
That was your P2 finisher, Max Butler, with a well-earned drive down to the second position. We're going to continue things down through the order, and in a minute here, we'll be giving a talk here to potentially Nolan Siegel. Well, looks like Nolan Siegel not able to give us a chat here, so instead, we're going to move down to P number 5 here. We'll give a talk here with Dave Anderson. Dave, you joined us up at the booth, 11th place, finish it out in the top 5. That's not a bad finish at all.
Hey, well, thanks, Nolan. I can't complain. I've had worse days. Better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, as my grandpa used to say.
Well, let's talk about that battle for P5. At first it was 7th place, then it was 6th, and then it was 5th. As it goes further and further up the running order, does the mentality for you change at all when you have to fight for those positions for the grid, or is it business as usual on the track?
Well, it's a great question, because I think I probably used to think it's a changed mentality, but I just knew I needed to drive good laps, and I'd practiced well, and not tonight necessarily, but I felt comfortable. I liked this track, and I just knew there's a lot of drafting, and for the most part, it comes down to the last lap. You got to be in a position to do something. And I knew that if I got, I sort of knew that if I was running there with Jackson and Wade near the end, we were going to have a pretty epic battle going down the last couple straights, and we did. It was just sort of the idea was, run my lines and wait for the opportunity. And a couple times the opportunity came up from, 8th to 7th to 6th. So just got to take them when they give it to you.
You mentioned draft, of course, playing a big role in the battle that we saw today. It'll likely play big roles in the battles next week as well at Phillip Island. What's the goal for our race down in Australia?
Well, that's a great track, and it has a couple of really tricky turns that can take you out. I think the goal, certainly for me, is to run clean. Again, you can have 15 great laps and one bad one, and that they will take you out at Phillip Island. It's a fun track, and there are a couple of really cool places to pass. And last time we raced this in a prior season in Formula 3, it was an action-packed pass fest. So with the drafting on this car, I think it might even be more fun.
Well, that's certainly what I would hope. We've been having a really fun time so far with the season, and I can't wait to see how it's going to play out as we head over to another draft track. Well, Dave, thanks for coming on up and giving us a chat, and we'll see you all next week, and wish you the best of luck.
Thanks to RaceSpot. Thanks to Liberty Group. Guys, have a great one.
That was Dave Anderson winning out in that battle for P number 5. We're going to see if we can bring up the defending champion, a driver we haven't been able to talk too much this season. It's Matthew Escajeda. And Sumo, you're standing by with the current defending champion.
Matthew, P5 in the last race, P7 right here. Things are just getting back a little bit. Are you getting more comfortable with the Pro Mazda car as it happens right now?
Funny you say that, because I actually kind of am, but I did not practice at all this week. So I missed out on that. I was really rusty. Kept kind of missing the chicanes in 12 and 15 a lot, but the draft is just so powerful. I kept up with Dave the whole time and was just trying to stay clean. Finally made a nice move on Rick Sheldon in the last corner, though. He said he dropped it into first gear by accident, and I just snuck up on the inside. But that's an intense track, though.
Yeah,
Very
it really
likely.
is. And things got so crazy in the mid with cut back, because oh my word, that just watching that was quite something.
Yeah, I was kind of just sticking it in there, hoping that he was not there, and it just worked out. It was beautiful, though. I got a little lucky there, too.
Yeah, it really was. And Matthew, in the championship as well, we go to Phillip Island next. Are you going to be there? And of course, in terms of practice, it'll be awesome to have you on there, because things just look like, of course, from the first couple of rounds, you are getting to grips with it better. And seeing you in these fights is quite an encouraging thing as a defending champion.
Yeah, I do plan to be there, and I think we have 2 weeks off. And yeah, I won there last season, so I'm a little bit more comfortable with that track. So it's also very fast corners, so a lot of drafting there too. So it'll be another really intense race.
Matthew, great speaking to you. All the best for the next one, mate, and great job with this one. That cutback was just something else.
Thank you guys very much. Great job broadcasting. It's awesome to watch.
Thank you so much.
So that was Matthew Escajeda bringing it home. Up 5 spots. Started 12th. Finishes out in P number 7 with a cutback pass over Rick Sheldon. It was a good run for him. And I believe that should just about wrap up all of our driver interviews then for one night here, Sumil. But what a race here at Oulton Park, and it is bound to be an exciting one going forward. Here are, of course, your championship standings. This is, of course, factoring in the 2 drop weeks, and it's even closer than when we look at it without them. Anders Krone still leading the points, but only by 1 over Stefan Wilson, who's only ran 1 race, with Wade Michael, Robert Gillis, and Max Beller all tied for 3rd at 21 points.
It looks close now, but when all the drivers do take a couple of weeks off, right, of course real-world commitments will clash at some point. That is when you'll see the extent of Anders Krone's dominance. So far it looks like very close, but later that will filter out on And McGuinness, it's still great to see him up in P number 4, but the problem with that is he's ran out of all his drop rounds right now. He can't afford to have another bad one because that'll drop him straight back down, because again, you can only have, I think, 3 or 2 drop rounds, isn't it? So that doesn't work out in his favor eventually, but still good to see everyone so close by. And it brings up your motivation and intensity for the coming rounds. And the next one, oh man, do you need intensity right there to be quick?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be an incredibly exciting run. And I mean, you look at all the point standings being close. That's, of course, because you get those results deleted from the races that are the worst on the season. But Phillip Island's up next. And then, of course, a Red Bull Ring doubleheader to start off the month of October, as well as end off the first half of the season. Start up the second ones. It is bound to be a thrilling race coming up at not just Phillip Island, but at the next 2 races as well.
Indeed, it's a proper European trip for this part of the season, but I love that we've chosen similar-ish tracks. But of course, Red Bull Ring is a bit of an outlier right here. It's open, it's wide, it's basically the closest you can get to an oval on a road course. It's a mad circuit right there, and I would love to see how the Pro Mazdas fare up, because normally we end up seeing Formula 1 come there, Formula 2, GT3 cars. This is going to be quite something to have the Pro Mazda cars right there. But first, Phillip Island, and that will be a stunner. Just watch the on-board laps from there in the meantime while we go there. You will be baffled if you've never seen it before.
It's going to be an intense one for sure, but for the time being, that is going to just about round out the time we've got for one night. For more for the Real Racers Virtual Club, presented by Liberty Group, I'm Lorenzo with Sumo Aurora beside me in the commentary box. Hugo Louise working as technical director down behind the cameras for tonight's race. Another thrilling race. Once again, the RRVC does not fail. We'll see you all next week at Phillip Island.